Okay. I'm going to call the Monday, July 2nd Park and Recreation Commission meeting to order. The first thing on the agenda is public forum. So does anyone wish to speak? Yes.
I would like to speak on behalf.
Can you have to please identify yourself, Bob?
Does he have to go over the speaker?
He should, yes.
Name, address, and then shadow it.
I'm Robert Borden, and I live at 130 Meadow Hills Drive in Guilford, and I am here on behalf of my sister-in-law, deceased Marlene Talento. Marlene was a stalwart in this town and passed away in October, and she's a member of the Rosa family. And we managed, through help with Rick, to plant a small tree at Chaffinch Island, and I would like very much to have a bench in her memory put there by the tree. She loved Chaffinch, and it was one of her favorite places to be. So, thank you.
And the tree is already there
Yes, it is.
at Chaffinch? I just want to get this all straight in my mind. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Wow, quiet day today. Okay. Can I get a motion? I'm sorry, you are? Michael. Can I get a motion to move new business D up on the agenda to right now?
I'll make a motion to move Eagle Scout Project, new business D, Michael Earl to right now.
I'll second it.
All right, and you are? Okay, can I get a motion to also move new business C?
I'll make a motion to move new business 9C up.
And I'll second it.
Okay. So, Michael, you're on.
Hello, my name is Michael Earl, and I am a student entering 10th grade at Guilford High School. I'm also a Life Scout in Boy Scout Troop 471. Next year, I will attend Guilford High School in the morning and the Educational Center for the Arts on Audubon Street in New Haven in the afternoon. ECA is a regional magnet school where I'll be studying visual arts. In college, I intend to study architecture. I am here today to pitch my Eagle Scout project to you. Following my presentation, I also have a handout. So I've long been interested in the work that the Parks and Recreation Department has been doing at Jacobs Beach. For my project, I'd like to design, commission, and work with artists Bruce and Joanne Hunter to create and install a mosaic on the back of the kiosk at Jacobs Beach. The back of the kiosk has been empty for a long time and is a prime location for a piece of artwork to represent our community. Bruce and Joanne Hunter own an art studio in Danbury called The Art Spot. They work with various groups to create artwork like the one that I am envisioning. My intention is to bring Bruce a sketch, which he will paint on an appropriate sized board. Then, Bruce and Joanne will join me at an event that pulls Guilford residents to the green, such as the Guilford Fair, the Taste of Guilford, or the Harvest Festival. In one afternoon, Bruce, Joanne, and I will create the mosaic, inviting passerbys to add tiles to our work. This will make the mosaic a piece of artwork created in part by members of our community. I intend to ask the Guilford Facilities Maintenance Department to hang the mosaic on the back of the kiosk at Jacobs Beach. I will provide all necessary hardware. The mosaic will be heavy and proper installation will be important to ensure the safety of residents viewing the piece. My Eagle Scout project will include fundraising to cover the cost of the mosaic design and creation. If this commission approves my project, I'd like to return next month with a sketch for approval before creation of the mosaic would begin. So here I have my handout.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, neat. That's cool.
So starting at the top left, I have the picture of the back of the kiosk. Oh, here. To the right, I have a picture of the artists with the mosaic that they created. And then below, I have a work in progress sample, which was a mosaic created by the artists and the members of the Brantford community. So does anybody have any questions regarding my proposal?
So, I do, actually. Tell me again, how are you going to involve the community in this?
So the idea was to, first I'd go to the artist and get a design finalized, and then I'd bring The artists, one thing that they do is that they will come and basically I would ask members of the community at an event to help place tiles of the mosaic. So it was in part created by them.
I think that's a neat idea.
I think it's a great idea. I almost like to see it bigger. I mean, I'm looking at this again. I'd love to see it.
That's awesome.
So the three of you?
Really?
So the three of you, these two artists and you would actually make it?
Yeah, in collaboration with the community and people from my troupe.
So you do all the grouting and all of that?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of like Guilford scenes, or have you thought about that? Or?
Yeah, so the design is still yet to be done, but I was thinking of either a scene in Guilford or a scene that reflects the history of Guilford in some way.
I think that'd be fabulous. I agree. Any other questions? Then somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept this proposal with the fact that you will come back with the sketch.
Of course.
Did I say it right?
Yes, somebody second the motion?
Second.
I'll second. So let me ask one more question. So this will not be of any cost to us, or,
Correct.
correct?
I will do all the fundraising.
Okay. Wow. Okay, any other questions, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're on. It's a great idea. It's something nobody's ever brought to us before. Thank you.
Good job, Michael.
He's going to start a new trend. Now, everybody's going to want a mosaic somewhere. Okay. Caden. You're on.
Unfortunately, my pictures did not print out at the size I wanted, so
That's
I'm
okay.
just going to set this up right here so you can all see, and I can bring it around later.
Yeah,
All right.
we get the idea.
So, my name is Caden Kozub. I'm a Boy Scout of Troop 474, and I will be, probably shouldn't have started yet.
No, again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, my name is Caden Kozub. I'm a Boy Scout of Troop 474. I'm going to be a senior next year at Guilford High School. And for my Eagle Project proposal, I am planning to build a bridge across a stream located in Bittner Park. So the stream is currently crossing the trail marked with the red and then the yellow stripe and then the red. So that's the marker for the trail. I have a map of the trails on the poster if you'd like to take a look. So the stream is 8.5 feet wide currently. There's not much water flowing through right now. But my idea is that I plan to build a roughly 20 to 25 foot bridge over the stream so hikers don't have to walk through the mud and the water. And I know Mr. Maynard mentioned one of you had almost slipped and fallen while walking across.
Oh, that's the one where we were, is that the one where we were jumping across?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, no, no, that
So
needs a
you know which
bridge.
stream he's talking about.
Yes.
Plus.
It's the only one that has her footprint in it. So.
All right, oh, I do remember that.
Is that like dinosaur footprints?
Yeah. She's not that old.
So one of the things I ran into as an issue is the fact that a lot of people like to take their horses around Bittner Park. So on there I have a picture of the current path that's a little bit further back from the trail that the horse has been using. So ideally, people would continue to use that trail, but I can't count on that, so we're going to have to construct the bridge for horses as well, which will allow for an easier crossing for both people and anyone who rides their horses. So I plan to fundraise for 100% of the project. I will be able to bring a diagram or model to next month's meeting, if possible. And the reason that I've decided to make it so much longer than the current stream size is both the fact that there is nowhere that I can secure it closer, and the stream will grow as the wet season comes. One of the issues I have to deal with is I do have to talk to Inland Wetlands Committee to deal with the stream and any of the marsh areas, so I'm preparing a proposal to submit to them for their next meeting, and then I'll be meeting with them. Do you have any questions about this proposal?
There's a bridge in Timberlands. It was probably built 12 years ago, and I used to go spend a lot of time, and I saw the Eagle Scout building it. It's an unbelievable bridge. I mean, it's just phenomenal what this kid did. And you might want to take a look at the bridge that goes over the Iron River.
Okay.
You know, just take a look at that bridge and see how he did that, and I'm sure you'll be able to find out, you know, the kid's probably in his mid-20s now. But phenomenal job, what he did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That sounds like
yeah.
good advice. I'll check that out.
Any other questions? Well, goodness knows we do need a bridge there. So, all right, if there's no more questions, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve Caden's plan to construct a bridge in Bittner Park.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions? Any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, I think it's a great idea.
All right.
We need a
thank you.
bridge there.
And this bridge will, horses and people, horses be able to go over it. Wow.
We'll have to figure that out, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the bridge at, in Timberlands that goes over the Iron River, that horses can go over it.
All right, then that's definitely a good thing to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it where literally the water was so high it was going over the bridge. And it's like, they handled it very well. And that bridge is not going anywhere for a long time. So that would definitely take a look at that one.
Okay. Does anyone want to look closer at any of these pictures or anything? or-
Many of us think we're at that exact spot.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
We've been there.
Would it would have
So this,
guardrails or?
Yeah.
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 if the disc golf goes in, it would cross this.
Yeah, it would benefit, even if it doesn't happen, it would benefit
Well,
hikers.
the way, if it just
Yeah.
benefit, it would be to
Mhm.
everybody's
You
benefit.
know, you
Okay.
it's going to be a lot of work. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you can have people set up to
Nobody's
help
shaking
you out.
their head.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
some friends and some other friends that can help me with the
Yeah.
actual construction and stuff like that.
Yeah, going back to the other bridge, because I watched this kid build it, and it took a long time. For him to do it, to do it right.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it was
All right.
a long project.
All right, thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Rose, just to let you know that the other Boy Scout sent me an email this afternoon that there's something he's still got to do with his troop. And so he's not going to be able to present tonight. He'll come in August.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, correspondence. We got letters? Lots of letters. So I'm not going to read all the letters, but just to go through very quickly, we have letters and responses from Rick and other people as well. So we have a letter from Susan Bobbin, we have one from Chris Moore, we have one from Robin Charney, we have two from Heather Lohr, one from Carolyn Zeiss, one from Cynthia Brandt, and one from Barb Hargraves. And all of them having to do with either questions or comments about the disc golf, and mostly that most of them are in opposition to it. But I think, Rick, you and Claire have done a good job of answering a lot of this correspondence, so thank you, guys.
Just
It is
trying to get the facts.
Well appreciated. Well,
Out
that's important.
I thought I saw one from Bob Borden.
Yeah, I think there's one in here.
But
Did I miss it?
when he got up and talked, I
Or was it
know
last month? A letter from who?
Bob Borden talking
yeah.
about.
It's on new business.
Oh, it's on,
A.
okay, maybe that's where I saw it.
Yeah, maybe that's where it was. Yeah,
Yeah, I just went through the letters and I didn't see it, but I think
Oh,
I
okay,
saw it
yeah.
in the,
you're right.
So
I think
it's
he
new
sent an email,
business, yeah.
and I knew he wanted to come tonight.
I just knew I had seen it somewhere and
Yeah.
was like, okay.
Yeah, it's under new business there.
Didn't want him to get forgotten.
okay, let's move on. Approval of our June 4th minutes. I assume everyone has read the minutes? That's good. All right, can we get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
I'll make him.
Go ahead, guys.
You go ahead. It's all
I'll make
you.
a motion to approve the minutes from June the 4th.
Second.
I will second the motion to approve the June 4th minutes.
Any comments, any corrections, additions? Are we all good?
Good.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. I wasn't here. Okay, the bills. These were emailed out to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry they weren't in the packet. Bonnie does this, she was not in on Thursday when they went out,
Right.
so I think she emailed them, I guess, Friday.
Do they come in late? The bills, do they come in rather late?
You know, they straggle, and we try to make sure we get them all in, and, I mean, there's still others that probably come in tomorrow, that, you know, we end up having to push off to next month. But-
Yeah.
But, yeah, one I do want to point out, though, on, just so you're aware of it, on page 3, or the third page, Kendra Houston, third name down, $63.50. She's from the Leeds Island Garden Club, and she bought flowers for Jacobs Beach and the planters down there. The garden club, it was beyond their year for asking for requests for this. I just happened to be, my wife is in that club. I happened to be bringing her to a meeting one time, and I said, hey, you know, we got these pots down at Jacobs Beach, you know, and Kendra said, we don't have it in our budget to plant them, but I'll plant them for you. So she bought them, we just reimbursed her, and she planted the
That's fine.
planters,
That's
and they look
wonderful.
beautiful.
Great.
Gave directions for our gate guards down there, you know, every other day, they gotta water them, and every 2 weeks, I had a little Miracle Grow, and she wrote out all the instructions, they have them. And so, just wanted to, you know, just give it a shout out that she did
Well,
that
absolutely.
voluntarily
Give her
for
a
us.
Thank you note for that.
Yeah,
That's really very nice for her to do that for us.
yeah.
Okay.
So these bills here will officially end our fiscal year?
Not really, because there's still more to come in, that, you know, that maybe some work that was done last week, or something bought last week that we don't have the bill yet. Usually, the purchase orders are kept open until about mid-August, I think. So we'll have at least one more, maybe even two, at least one more. We're in July now, aren't we? Yeah, at least
Yes,
one
we
more.
are.
Depending if we get, you know, if something comes in after August 4th, when our next meeting is, it still could be into September possibly. But it's whatever was bought before June 30th.
Okay.
Gets paid out of last year's budget.
So we have accrual set up for it? or
Yeah,
the county
purchase
has
orders,
accrual.
yeah.
Okay.
Rick, do you know how we're doing with the GSH?
Yeah, you know what, I know, you're
Budget.
supposed to put the percentage on here. You know, I think we're pretty close. So I'll tell you one thing, though, the kiosk is a lot more. It was budgeted, and what we're paying monthly on that, the kiosk out here was, I think, $46 a month
Yeah.
last year. It's $72 now, is kind of the average. It's gone up a lot. I'm not sure why, if they're just in there more now, or, I know they don't have air conditioning in there or anything, so I'm not sure the reason, but the bills are higher every month and have been the last I've been watching those 3 or 4 months. You know, I think we're kind of in there with the one at the fitness group, the fitness center there. You know, again, I'll get a bottom line report, probably about a month, see how we made out overall.
Yeah.
I know we're better like on water bills for Long Hill Park. We haven't had to, now we are, but
Yeah.
up until
You did okay
recently,
for a while
we
before
weren't
we
watering
spent,
at
yeah.
all. So I think we've saved a lot on those water bills that is part of all the utilities anyway.
With the Kias, when that was built, did we take on the responsibility of electricity? That was part of that? I thought we gave the use of the land
Yeah.
and them to tap in, but I didn't realize that
They
we
mined
were.
it for the first few months, and then they went to the selectmen, Board of Selectmen at the time. The Board of Selectmen said this is assigned it to us.
Okay.
You guys got it.
All right, just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that we weren't forgetting to hand something back
No,
over.
no. In fact, actually, was there a Dome Avenue bill here?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, page 1.
Yeah, under Eversort, 47.
Yeah, we invoice Youth Lacrosse pays for those. That's the scoreboard at Dome Avenue. And the agreement was always they were gonna cover the cost, so we pay and then we get reimbursed.
While we're there on the page 1, I think it's been brought up before, but I forget. New England Road, the tennis courts, what's that for?
The, under Eversource,
Correct.
that's the high school, the tennis courts at high school, we pay the electric bills on those.
So there's lights here, people play at night?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's generally general public use, it's not the high school that uses it. And it's kind of like, I think forever, we've always paid for those lights. Now, by the same token, the Board of Ed pays all the irrigation on the school fields. We don't pay for those irrigation bills. We do Long Hill, actually, it's only one, because Bittner is from a well, and Jacobs are the only ones that we have. They do Lee, Cox, High School, Adams, probably missing one. guess that's it.
So
They-
how
they-
long-
Well, then the
what
Board of
length-
Education must do Guilford Lakes then, because there's no
Yeah.
separate entry for lakes.
They do the lights at Guilford Lakes, yes.
How late did they stay on, Phil?
9:30,
And they're on a timer.
yeah, right,
So like if
Yeah.
someone does not use them all night, they will not go on.
correct.
You have to press a button to engage the light at the high school.
And
But
at
Guilford-
Lakes, it
Guilford
just goes
Lakes,
on automatically?
they're
Is it on a
on-
timer?
They're on a timer.
They're
Yeah.
on a timer set by
Yeah.
the janitorial staff.
And actually, the basketball courts at Adams are on a timer too, and the school sets those up, and they pay for that one.
So if no one's up there playing tennis, if you want to play tennis, you got to hit a button.
Yep.
They
At
go
the high
on.
school, yeah.
And then it's on a timer, even that's on a timer.
So it's pretty neat. So they get to
40.
play, they play at night. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
They go on for an hour, but at 50 minutes, I think a yellow light flashes, kind of give you a warning, 10 minutes. If you're gonna stay longer, hit the button again. But again, you can hit the button all you want at 9:35, and they're not gonna go off. There's an overall override that
Override,
doesn't,
that's it.
yeah. That's in courtesy to the neighbors there, lights aren't shining late.
Okay, any other questions on the bills? Okay, motion to approve the bills.
I make a motion to accept the bills for this month.
I'll second.
For the amount of? You can say it. $132,703.34. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, and the bills are done. I don't know. They don't get paid. Okay, department reports. Rick?
Let's see.
Most of this is already on the agenda.
Most of it on the agenda, I guess the only one I'll mention, which I think is on the agenda too, but number 12, that we've been, the commission actually, a few years ago, I think back when actually Ralph was, a number of years ago, was trying, we wanted to get a food vendor at Jacobs Beach, like a food truck or something. And we've been unsuccessful with that, but there's a hot dog vendor that's been on the green, and I met with him last week, and he's interested in doing it on a weekend basis. He's only going to do weekends, although I was down there Saturday, he wasn't there, and there were a lot of people there. I think he could have done well on Saturday. But he's paying us for the exclusive privilege to sell hot dogs down there, just like the ice cream vendor is the only ice cream vendor there and has the exclusive on it, and they pay us for that. Goes into our town general fund revenue account. And so he's going to do weekends, and then this Thursday night special events that we have down there, he said he'd come for that. He'll be at the fireworks. That's all part of the sort of the agreement. And
Fair enough.
he's got the permits, from the health department, police department, and everything else. And so hopefully it'll work out.
Whereabouts would he be located? Over by the pavilion?
We thought about that area, kind of almost where the new platform is.
Yeah.
There's sort of an area right there where the new platform and the old one sort of meet.
Yeah.
Kind of thought that'd be a good spot. It's visible to everybody. It's close to the playground.
Yeah.
But I did tell them there are times that groups reserve the pavilion, and sometimes they bring in their own food truck that they pay for. So I said that could happen. So,
Yes.
that's not a conflict, because they're
We
paying
allow
that
that,
guy to
yes.
come in separately with a private party or whatever. So just made them aware of that, but, so we thought we'd give it a shot. Only weekends. I said, eventually, you may do well on a weeknight down there too, because a lot of people go down to the beach. It's a day like today, the best time to be out at the beach is like right now. It's cool, a nice breeze, it's comfortable, and that's the best time to be down there.
How much does he get charged?
What is he paying us?
Yeah.
$600.
For the season.
Yeah.
Do we still have somebody going down for ice cream on the
Kit
weekends?
Kat?
Well, the ice cream vendor.
Yeah. We still have the ice cream.
Ice cream
Doesn't matter.
vendor. The ice cream vendor pays more like $1,200, I think, or $1,100, something like that, but she's there 7 days a week.
Right.
And so I didn't think it would be fair to have him pay the same if he's only going to be on weekends. So we kind of worked that out, said, let's give it a try. He already gave us $300 for the first, I said by July 1st, which the day I met with him, he gave us a $300 check. And then he'll give the other balance August 1st.
Good.
Yeah,
So,
that's a nice option for people.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's too bad we can't do something at Quantico, but We can't have people
Yeah.
running across the street.
And I think he
Then
has like
we'll talk about
kielbasa and sauerkraut. He's got other, it's not just hot dogs, he's got veggie hot dogs, tofu pups, I guess, or what they are. So he has a couple options. And I think water and soda, or water and juice or something.
that. Okay, anything else? Okay, Tony's report. I know Tony's been busy.
Yeah, this guy's struggling in the heat, I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna highlight three things: Soccer Fest, Little League districts, and preparing the green for graduation. Those are kind of like, I mean, it's stuff we do, but it's sort of a lot of, preparing the green wasn't a huge amount of work, but the guys, they edge all the sidewalks, you know, to make it look nice for graduation, and
Okay.
so that takes some time. It's more than just mowing it. I mean, they go beyond that. Soccer Fest, they used the fields, three fields at the high school, all the fields at Leet, Long Hill. I don't think they were at Bittner this year. I believe that was it. They didn't use Cox. But it's getting all the fields set up, you know, the guys lining them, because some of the dimensions might be a little different from whatever the soccer club had, so they had to change things around, move goals around. And then the Little League district started this past weekend, and so doing a lot to get ready for that. And I forgot, you know what, did I give you a letter? We got a nice email from Steve Viotti today.
No, we haven't seen that one.
Actually, I handed it out right behind the Al Jacobs one. He is one of the coordinators of the district tournament, and he had some pretty nice compliments about the condition of the fields at Adams and what the guys did there.
Okay, that's great. And obviously this was shared with Anthony and all that, okay.
Yeah.
CC'd, all right.
I'd like to send it to Matt as well.
Yeah, you're right, it wasn't on the distribution here.
Thank
But, you know, because there have been some issues that have been raised, I thought this was nice that we,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
great.
you know, people from other communities are commenting about the good condition of our fields.
I will say I went to the Barbara Pine Memorial Beach dedication, and that beach was looking really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I mean, I remember when we looked at it after the hurricane, I thought, oh, never. But they did a great job of cleaning that up. It looked fabulous. She would have been proud of you guys. So that was great. All right, any other questions about the parks? Okay, ever honored. We don't have one from Ellen, right?
No, and Terry's, I think I just handed out tonight.
You just handed Terry.
Now, Ellen, you know, she's been pretty up to her eyeballs with trying to do a lot of things and just didn't get to it.
Okay. All right.
One thing I will mention on Terry's, though, summer solstice picnic, I mean, as everything, is always a good turnout. There are about 80 people for that one. That was inside. Some years they've done that down at Jacobs Beach. And if I remember, that was a pretty cool, breezy night, so having it in here was probably a good idea that night. Entertainment was good. There was a solo guy singing and had like recorded music in the background, and did a good job, and people loved it. And
I think what the Strawberry Social Picnic down there, it had over 100 people at
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
as well.
yeah,
The, when we send out, does Terry have a mailing list that she sends these to, information about upcoming events?
Yes, there's a senior newsletter that goes out to, if you pay $5, they'll mail you your senior newsletter every month. If not, it comes to you online.
Okay.
With all of the events and all of the trips and everything that's
it's
happening.
about 800 seniors get it.
How to, how to sign up, everything is on there.
Well, I haven't signed up yet because I haven't reached that threshold, but the only reason
I
why.
have, so I do get this every month.
The only reason why I ask is that I get a similar newsletter from Guilford Public Library about their activities. And it's very effective as to previewing the upcoming events that they have. And I didn't know whether or not we did the same thing.
We do
so.
the same thing. I mean, she has things that are even booked for July, and, August already.
Okay.
So yes, it goes out to everybody.
Yeah, that newsletter just came out.
Yeah. That we do.
So, I mean, you all know, it's a pretty active, the senior group is very active and do a lot.
I mean, they're already working on their fair in October, so she's got everybody going here. All right, any other questions on that? Okay, so here we go. Reports of other commissions. Standing fields.
Okay, well, how long do you have? Because this may take a while, so. I'll give you the,
Cliff notes, please.
I'll give you the abridged version of what's happening.
Okay, that'd be really good.
The abridged version of what's happening right now is that the Standing Fields Committee is still reviewing it's a work in progress, trying to put together a field use policy with regard to how our fields can be properly used, maintained, and, how should I say, offered to the various sports groups that occupied Guilford. There are two parts of the policy that we're still trying to hammer out, but it's all going to eventually come down to us, because all the subcommittee is going to do is going to make an advisory to our board, and then we decide as to whether or not we want to accept or reject their recommendations with regard to this. Or modify. Right now, John Hess of the Standing Fields Committee had put together an extensive policy of use, which, when it came down to how long it was, we made a decision to consolidate it and to condense it to make it a little bit more palatable for both the user to read it and for the Park and Rec Department to enforce it. So that's in the process of going through a revision right now. The second part, which is probably going to be the most difficult to come to a conclusion, which will eventually have to be decided by this board, is with regard to the policy of fees. Okay, there are several different opinions with regard as to how the fees should be calculated and administered. We have, on the one hand, our current policy that we have in effect right now is actually, if you look on a continuum of the scale, we are probably on the lower end of the scale of charging fees for the use of the fields. If we adopt a, quote, market value approach to our feed usage, we would be on the other end of the spectrum and be probably charging too much for the cost of the use of the fields. So we have to come to the next meeting for the Standing Fields Committee and for the subcommittee will be in July 16th, but it looks like it may be deferred because there are people who are going to be on vacation, holidays, and whatever. Now, the problem that pursues with that is that the scheduling of the fall seasons for soccer primarily is coming within the next 30 to 60 days. And so, for example, such as the men's league that play here in town, they have to submit their request, A, if they're going to have a team, and B, if they're going to have how many home games are they going to be able to provide as a part of being a member of the league that they participate in. So there are at least 3 men's league teams that are actively involved with our waiting to hear what we have. And Rick has had contact with at least one team asking us, when are we going to have the fee schedule available? So I anticipate that we are going to try to have this ready for our August meeting so that we can come to a general, so that we can discuss it at that point, come to a decision as to what the fees are going to be and how they're going to be applied to the various programs that wish to use the fields. But that's basically it. That's about as we've had some very intense discussions about as to how we're going to handle this, because we have only a very few number of towns that actually publish a field use policy that has their fees involved with it. I can tell you exactly the fees that are being charged by the for-profit organizations, such as the CT Sportsplex in North Branford. My personal opinion, and I'm going to inject my personal opinion in here, is that if we charge too much, we will be chasing away
I agree.
participation
I agree.
in our fields.
And we don't want to do that.
Mainly because of the fact of I use it as an idea is that this is one way we bring people into town, is by having out-of-town sports teams play in Guilford. And there is some additional economic activity that comes with that as well. Somebody who's coming from Cheshire, they may go to Bishop's Orchards for during the fall season to pick apples and the like, or they may buy gasoline down the street, or they may even go down to Jacobs Beach and find some place to eat down there. So, that's the but that's the undefined economic activity that that the sports activities actually does bring into town. I actually, I hate to sound silly, but, this is something that even Brian McGlone would be actively supporting, is to bring, as an economic developer, to bring people into town to help support the local economy and the local merchants. So, when we come to a final conclusion as to what the subcommittee is going to offer, then we bring it here, and then we will have our discussion as to whether, how we wish to administer it.
Thank you.
It's
been a process, I know.
It's a
I went
long
to the first
process.
meeting. It's
on
been a
it.
process, I
This
know.
is taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated, simply because of the fact that the members of the subcommittee travel. I mean, and they
It's
are
summer.
not available. And we don't want to do something rash.
Right, no, I think better we take our time and do it right than rush into something.
Well, unfortunately, being right and taking our time is pushing us up against the schedule, so.
If I can just add, I think it may be difficult to charge the fees for the fall anyway,
Oh,
because
I don't think when
groups are already doing their
Yeah.
registration and setting their fees, so the other parts of the policy maybe can get approved
Yes.
for, some of the other things
But
that are
we
in the
may have to
policy.
wait on the fees, yeah.
But the
Yeah.
fees might have to
We have
go,
we have a policy in place, we have a fee schedule there now, so we can always
And-
revert back to that.
To go back to Rick's point here too, it is not mandatory that we make the adjustment immediately.
Right.
Okay, because you do have the sports teams who are charging their members based upon what we are charging right now.
That's right, I
And
agree.
it'd be like you going up saying that, we're gonna have the roof repaired and it's gonna cost us $5,000, and, oh, by the way, we're now gonna charge you 10.
Exactly.
We're gonna have to, that money is gonna have to go back and be
Yeah, when we
adjusted to
started
the other
committee
teams.
In May, it was stated that there was no need to have this done right away, because it was not going to be implemented fee-wise for the fall.
and if we can reemphasize, so people who are watching don't think we're charging Guilford Youth Group, we're talking about the non-resident
Right.
for-profit groups is where the fee issue is. The only time a Guilford Youth Groups, according to the current policy, and I think probably the new one, is when you have a clinic or camp that's outside of their regular season. So, if there's a soccer camp,
Right.
well, good example, there is a soccer camp in July, and the soccer club knows they pay for the use of the field for that time based on the resident rate, which is, way, way lower than what the non-resident rate is. So I think we need to just make sure people understand, we're not talking about
No,
charging youth
right.
groups to use the fields.
You're right. Okay, anything from the Greens Committee?
No meeting this month.
Okay. Land acquisition.
Nothing to discuss?
Technology.
Nothing to discuss.
Wow. It is summer.
I'm sorry, I talked so long that, I know you guys were
All right, 25th anniversary, we do have to talk to Ellen about that, but we don't want to do anything until the building is done. Which brings us to the community center improvements. So I believe we have picked out the carpet, and we've picked out the color of the stair treads, and we've picked out the color of the, what do you call the stuff that's going in the front?
Foyer?
Yes, that carpet, the really strong carpet, that, for the dirt. Yeah, it has a
they're
name.
collecting dirt more.
Yeah, that carpet.
treading.
So anyway, we've got this all picked out. We're pretty well ready to go, except we're not going to do this until, number one, the roof is done, and then there's some painting that needs to be done. So we're not going to do the carpets until we get the roof and the painting done. So it's going to happen, but it's going to take us a little bit of time.
But we did get approval for the contractor.
We do got approval,
And we
it's
got
all
approval
set,
for the
ready to
paint
go.
contractor too, for painting some of the interior rooms and the exterior of the building.
Yep.
And as Rose said, that would be after the roof is done. Doesn't make sense to paint the building and they're still doing a roof, and they knock a gutter down and scrape the paint off or something.
And I've talked to Todd, there's a couple of little odds and ends that he's going to start to work on for me, like the chair rail. And the little box over there where people keep their shoes.
Yeah, they're gonna paint
They're gonna get those all painted and spruced up for us, so we're getting there, guys. It's slow, but we're getting there. All right, let's go to unfinished business. Jacobs Beach platform, how's that coming?
Probably this is the last time we're talking about it, 'cause it should be finished
Ooh.
tomorrow.
Oh, really?
And, here it is, I did take some pictures. This was from, came on, I thought I had 4 copies.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
This was today?
No, that was
Oh,
from
I
last
was
week.
gonna say, and they're gonna be done tomorrow.
That's a week ago. No, very little left to do, probably done tomorrow.
Wow.
We have to come back in the fall, there'll be some areas we're gonna have to sod, which is really not part of their contract
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
And I met with Will Thompson, our architect there today, and the contractor, and a couple of the irrigation lines, we have to move a little bit, because what we're gonna be sodding, it would not get irrigated now, so we have to just get the contractor to move those, our contractor, our irrigation guy. So, it's beautiful, looks nice. I have a call into Hall's tent rental, because I think we had always talked about, renting a tent to put over that. And I know he's busy this week, he's gonna be on the green with all the tents for the Guilford Handcrafts Fair for next week. So I want to track him down, and then Will wants to weigh in on what the tent looks like, so it's not just it's gotta be a tent that's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so whenever I can, if anybody, is Suzanne McDermott, is she the liaison for Jacobs? So I'll contact her too, so that she can be involved with that too, and so we'll just get some ideas of what's out there and what makes sense.
Good.
So, because that will get very hot on that platform, I think.
It will.
People just sitting there in the sun, so the whole idea was to have that be
To have that.
a shade structure over that.
structure, So that's the
Is
next
that
step.
still in our plan to do something more permanent there for a shade
Well,
structure?
it wasn't approved by planning and zoning, the deck was.
Okay.
But the shade structure, we'd have to go back and get approval for that. It was pretty
Why did they not
hefty
just
cost.
do it at the same time?
Because there were a lot of negative feedback from neighbors, and they thought it would block their view of the water. And so that wasn't approved by P and Z. And so what was approved, we had a 5-year window on it. We're probably 4 years ago, probably, right? So we're kind of in the last window of getting this done. So this is
So
okay,
we have
this
to
is in
just
the approval.
Go back and get approval.
We'd have to go back and get that. I know the Will did some test pits, though, to put a permanent structure in. He said you'd have to drive posts down 30 feet
Oh, wow.
to handle the wind load and everything that would have to be handled. That's why we thought, for a couple of years, let's try a tent. If we know something's coming up, they could take the tent down. And it'd be the contract, whoever we rented from would have to
Right,
be
would have to come
responsible
in.
for it. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah,
And then-
I was down there Friday, it looks great.
Yeah.
Really nice.
They've done a really nice job. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, really. It's a nice, big deck
I
right
mean,
now.
at the time, there was opposition to the trees,
Right,
but those trees have proven to not
right.
be blocking views.
Some people ask for more because they want more
Exactly.
shade.
Exactly.
I
So,
definitely needed shade this weekend, so.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Opposition to the playground itself.
Oh, yes, I was here for the opposition to the playground.
It was, yes.
Yes. And it's well used, and it is well used now.
Everybody likes the disc golf course,
So-
right?
Right.
Well, speaking of, that's next on our agenda. So actually, so I thought the open house went well. I thought it was fun.
That was well attended.
It was well attended. Yes, we were there. We had quite a few people from the public there. There were still some concerns, but there were still people who thought it was a good idea. So I think that was really a good idea. So I guess right now, the next thing is July 17th, I believe, is our public hearing. It'll be here, 7 PM.
Yeah.
We have a room,
Guilford room.
Guilford room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So any other questions on that?
And I don't know if I think I didn't know this at the last meeting, or I didn't have this information, but we've raised $10,000 of the $12,000 needed so far. Rotary Club gave us $3,000. I might have sent that out in email, but it wasn't in our public record. I'm pretty confident we can get to the 12,000. But one thing, there is one woman that emailed me, and I think it might have been in the packet. she had questions, and one of the things I explained is that not everybody plays tennis, not everybody plays bocce, or
Pickleball.
basketball or pickleball, but we have tennis courts, we have bocce courts, we have pickleball courts, we have a skate park, and they're recreational amenities for people who want to use them. Anybody who wants to play disc golf, there's no place to do it. Within 20 miles, I mean, the closest place is in Wallingford, I think. So it's not like they can just go to next town over or find another park and play tennis or something. And I also explained by comparison to the cost. When we repaired the high school tennis courts recently with just fixing cracks and repainting where we had to, the tennis courts at Lakes and the basketball courts at the police department, that was $46,000 to fix cracks. Even if we didn't have any more money raised, and if we had to take $2,000 out of our account, $2,000 for an 18-hole disc golf course that can be used by a lot of people. And we saw that the age group, there was an 8-year-old kid I saw throwing that thing pretty far. Maybe he's 8 or 6 or 7.
5 and 7. Liam did it too.
Yeah, they did it very well, and there were some people in their 70s there, and that's the range that we will attract. Because I talk to people who have these disc golf courses in their town, they say you got little kids or senior citizens that play. So,
How many are there in Connecticut, would you say?
27,
There are 27.
yeah.
South Dakota has more disc golf courses than Connecticut does.
South Dakota.
South Dakota, yes.
If I can interject, I happened to be in Vermont this weekend visiting my sisters, and one of my sisters lives across the street from the park. She just recently moved there. I said, oh, you got a nice park. And they said, oh, yeah, they have disc golf in there, too. Right across the street from her house. And I was talking to her husband, and he said it gets a lot of use in all age groups, families. He said all weekend people are there, Saturdays and Sundays.
Nice.
Yeah, he said it gets a ton of use.
But they don't have any problems with it, I assume.
No, literally the parking lot is right across the street from my sister's house, and it's in a residential area, and it said all weekend, this parking lot is packed with cars, specifically for people. It's within a park.
Right.
It's.
So there's other amenities going on at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, there's, matter of fact, one of the holes, my brother-in-law showed me the course, he plays it himself. He said one of the holes, they throw the disc over you can either throw it over the tennis courts. Yeah.
What a great idea.
I said, what? He says, yeah, you can either throw it over the tennis courts, or you can like go around it, but, of course, yeah, so I'm like, oh, it goes over the tennis courts. So we obviously don't have, we don't have the parking where we have, it's not in a residential neighborhood. And, but he, like literally, like I said, right across the street, they have no, there's no, they have no problem with it. My sister in the neighborhood, someone complains or that there's a ton of cars there, but, yeah.
Well, I do think that we've taken a lot of time to make sure that wherever we put it, whether it was Peddlers or Bittner, that, yes, there are coinciding with other activities, but not to the point where, like, we're throwing it over a tennis court, where it's not going to involve. I mean, obviously, if there's someone hiking or riding a bike or riding a horse, you're not gonna throw. Just like if a horse is walking on that trail and I'm walking on that trail with my kid, I'm stopping and moving over and letting the horse go through. Obviously, the bigger thing has the right of way, just like.
So, no, Rick, you got to commend you. You did a great job responding to people's concerns. I mean, and Now, when is planning when will planning and zoning in inland wetlands? When will they go up there?
First, we need to go to have our public hearing.
Okay, then we go. Okay.
And then we probably would make a decision after that.
At least fill out the application for
And then
wetlands,
we
at least
would-
that's filled
yeah.
out. And meanwhile, though, Kevin McGee filled out a
For the DEP.
Natural Diversity Database, NDDB. It's an environmental sort of
Right.
thing to find out if there's any endangered species. I think some of you might have seen, there was a turtle that was spotted there. So we're being proactive to go to DEP. We did this, I think, almost 4 weeks ago. I think Kevin did, at least 3 weeks ago. But I was told it could take 6 weeks to get that result back. I was hoping we would have it by July 17th. I don't know if we will or won't, but it'll probably be close to 6 weeks by the time that comes up. But, we're trying to look at everything. We just want to make sure that we've checked into everything. As you know, the deed, I was asked to look into the deed. The
Check
deed
the
actually
deed.
states you can have a
Yes.
real ball golf course in Bittner
thank
Park.
you.
That was an allowable use of the property there. Hunting was listed in there, which we don't allow, but there are a lot of things
There's a lot
that
of
were
things that were in the deed.
unrestrictive. The only thing else I'll say is, as of last week, we had 506 responses to the survey, which is, a lot of people are interested in this. And, so it's, people are talking about it for sure,
I also think
on
we
both
need to
sides.
clarify that Bittner Park is 144 acres or
140
130?
about, yeah.
Yeah, 140 acres, and we are not using half
Right.
of that. We are using a small portion of the 140, I think, what did they say, almost, maybe 30? Not even?
30 acres, but I figured out, so the actual square footage, I figure out it's about 6 acres.
It's hard to.
It's spread out.
It's,
Right.
yeah, that's what I mean, it's hard to say, we're not taking a
Right.
plot,
Right.
and that's what makes it hard to figure out how much, because most of it's gonna stay the way it is, the trails are gonna
Correct.
stay.
Yeah.
The
But it
woods
was,
are gonna
there was a
stay.
comment on the Monday that we were there that it was half
Yeah.
of
No.
Bittner Park, and it is not.
No.
We have
Right.
140-plus acres there, we're using a small
Yes.
portion of it.
Yeah. You could use the same logic that more than half of Bittner Park is trails, because if you look at where the trails all go through the
Yeah.
park, more than half the park has trails, and this is just the wider trail,
Yeah.
right? And I think, again, I figured it out, I don't know the exact length of all the holes, but I took an average of 300 feet, and then 40 feet wide, I multiplied 1,200 square feet times 18, it came out to, just over 6 acres,
Yeah.
really, out of 140 of actual,
Fairway or,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Well, the
And even then, they're not all clear anyway,
Right,
there's
not
mostly
clear
trees
cut.
in there.
Yeah.
There's one other advantage to this, is that's, on the flip side, is that should it not go over well, Bittner Park will go back to the way it was
Absolutely,
very, very quickly.
absolutely.
I mean, because it's not as if we are clear-cutting
Yes.
old-growth forests. It's saplings and new growth that's been there for less than 20 years. But the ability of the land to repair itself, so to speak, after some of the fields or some of the saplings have been cleared, they will come back very, very quickly. And the other thing that I'd just like to reiterate is that the taste of sports activities in town have changed dramatically over the years. Again, when I first moved into town back in 1985, we had 30 men's softball teams. Today, we have 0. We don't even have a co-ed program. We used to have 6, 8 women's leagues.
There was a large amount of women's.
The women's league had to
Just
wait for Little League to finish before they could use the
start to
fields.
play. Yeah.
And that was a situation where, again, we had more people coming into town to use our facilities that are not here any longer. I mean, the tastes have changed. Lacrosse has picked up where Little League has fallen off. Football has picked up where soccer has let off. So this is the next generation of.
Pickleball
of
has
sp-
picked up.
Pickleball has picked up. This is the next generation of outdoor sports activities.
I
And
have to preface that, that for the spring, for the summer session for pickleball, there are 122 registered people with 24 on a waiting list and 13 new people that I'll teach the game to. And I just think back that, yeah, it's changed because we only had like 4 or 5 people 8 years ago.
Right.
And it's grown, and we aren't able, we're like, what do we do with the leftover 24? But we'll try to get them
Get 'em in.
in. Yeah, but
Yeah,
things have changed. And
you're right, things are changing, and like I said before, it's the same thing with the bocce, that's
Bocce.
grown. We're even, actually, some of the people are going to play throughout the summer, usually we stop because of the heat,
Yeah.
but we're gonna, some of them are
Keep
coming in
going.
early in the morning to continue playing throughout the summer.
Yeah.
So, things are changing.
And Rick is just
Good
making a point
point.
too, is that we used to have a summer basketball league that played both at the high school and at the Adams courts, and nothing.
Or the police department, yeah.
Rick,
Yeah,
have
please
we
don't- please- please don't.
notified the
Oh.
property owners that abut Bittner about the public hearing?
No, I don't know if we should. There's one that actually emailed me.
Heather?
No,
Heitman.
Heitman, yeah. And I offered to go meet with her, 'cause she talked about people, she wasn't against it, I don't think.
No.
She just mentioned sometimes people even hike there, or they hunt on her property, and build deer stands, in the trees in her property there. But, yeah, maybe we should, I guess, but I guess I didn't, because unlike the peddlers, there are no direct neighbors. I mean,
Right, okay.
they have
Right.
property, but their houses are like far, far away.
Far away.
Alma
And we're not
Drive is
near
the
their,
closest.
we're not going near their property really with any of this. I mean, the trails are there, but not, we're not,
Right, we're not
We're-
doing anything.
we're
closer
not
to
on
their
their property
houses.
side of the trails,
Right.
we're on the park side more, so.
The biggest trail is not even gonna be close to here, and that's the Trout Brook Trail. That
Right.
goes north, and it goes away from the,
Oh.
Yeah.
disc golf area.
Okay, but we will notify the people that were
Hmm.
at the open house.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we have their email
do we have something going into the paper so that everybody knows?
I think there may be another article this week possibly.
Okay, good.
And if
So
not,
that
we'll make sure we
everybody's
get it up
aware
on
that we get
Facebook
the word out
again
there.
and the
Let's
town
get the word out
website.
so people know that
Yeah.
we're having this open hearing. Okay.
July 17th. Okay. Okay, roof replacement. They're doing it. I see the pylons. I talked to the guys on my way in. They seem very eager. Not to mention
Long time
warm.
to-
Not to mention really warm.
Yeah.
At least it's not snowing
Oh,
outside.
please,
When
those
when I
poor
met with them
guys. I felt
Friday,
sorry
when
for
they were
them.
setting the project up,
I
I said,
feel so
"Oh,
sorry for
this
them."
is like the second longest heat wave in history or something you guys have started. I stopped by Saturday and Sunday, they said it was 145 degrees on the roof.
I believe
I didn't go
it.
up to test it, but I believed them. Yeah,
So they started over the weekend?
Friday they started, yeah.
And how long do we anticipate this is
Well,
going
the
to take?
contract goes till September 11th. They have 90 days. I don't think that they'll be here that long, but they have 90 days from this notice
From the
to
onset.
proceed, which was June 11th. So, yeah, they finished
You know,
it.
my only concern, and I know there's nothing we can do about it, but at least I think we don't have too many activities where we have to have extensive parking. Because
They
that's.
take a lot of
They
parking.
take up a lot of the parking, and, you know, in this heat, we can't expect some of our seniors to be walking from the green to come down here
Well,
for
if we
lunch or
have something,
whatever.
Can we just set up a,
So I
something at
think-
St. George and do a shuttle?
I think if something big is
Yeah, I
happening,
guess
we
we
ought
can-
to
we can
talk
think
about
about
that
doing
and
it,
how
yeah.
we can shuttle them in, because
Right.
we just can't count on them, you know, having a beautiful, sunny, cool day to walk over
Right.
here.
It obviously
So-
behooves them too to get in and knock
Oh,
the job out.
I think it
and get
does,
out.
yes.
Like,
Right.
I'm sure they don't
Yes.
want to be here 90 days
No.
either.
No.
And they're gonna be on 4th of July, they're working here. And they know they have free reign to do a lot, because they don't have to worry about people coming in and
No,
out.
they won't.
They're here on, this Saturday is our last Saturday we have anything in the building. We're closed on Saturdays in the summer. So I told them, you can go crazy on Saturdays, do everything you want, because you don't have to worry about people coming in
People
and out.
coming in and out.
Right.
Good. Okay, so ever on to,
Synthetic turf damage, how's that going? I know, I mean, really, is it going anywhere?
It is still unresolved.
wow.
I guess the easiest way to describe it is the fact that our professional people disagree with their professional people, and it's gonna, no, I won't even say it for the record, but I just think that it's gonna be a lot longer to get resolved, and we are not gonna have the use of the field this fall.
That was gonna be my next question. Are you gonna be able to use the
I know,
field in the fall?
I know that they're planning on having it ready by then, but my personal opinion is I don't see how they're gonna get it done.
I think
in
you're
time.
right, or at least definitely, the original target date was August 15th, there's no way that's happening. So what's happening right now is our consultant is taking all the products and they have it in a lab in New Hampshire where they're putting it through a test to try to replicate the deep freeze we had in January and try to figure out, so did some of the product fail? What failed? Something happened that the water, they know it was ice. Ice is what caused it, but
Oh,
why
right.
was the
Yeah,
ice
at least
there?
we know that.
What kept the water from moving? You know, did it not go through the sand infill? Did it not go through the
The baffles underneath.
Yeah,
The channels.
shock pads, you know, so, anyway, they're still trying to figure out the cause of it before they decide what to do to fix it. Which makes sense, because we gotta know that, so it doesn't
Oh,
happen
yes,
again
it makes
another
sense.
year. So,
There are some intricacies that are involved with this that were not anticipated. The fact that they were using the sand fill for instead of using the black crumble
Okay.
rubber, that they used a different process. And whether or not that process caused there are channels for the water to seep through, whether or not that water, those sand leached through and then blocked the pores to prevent it. That all has to be replicated. They have to figure out what they're going to do with this. So it is a little bit more complicated than originally thought. And the damage is a little bit more extensive, because they started pulling up areas that did not look
Really?
damaged, and
And they are.
they found damage underneath. So it's not just isolated to just the two areas that are highly visible. There are some areas that were, I hate to use the word invisible, but were not
Not
immediate,
obvious.
not obviously apparent.
Wow.
And somebody's going to definitely get their PhD on this one.
Okay, 52 Church Street, I guess that's here sort of as a placeholder in the hopes that something will happen soon. I do know the guys, the construction workers said they are parking their vehicles there while they're
They're parking
working
over there. I parked there today just to create a little more space, and they are using the garage, which we got permission from Town Hall for them to do that. That's where they're storing all the shingles. And so they took down one section of the fence, so they're going in and out, like create a little ramp, so they're not coming, they're just coming right through. And, yeah, and we also, they also had permission to use the house for like, where they set up their blueprints office or
Oh, wow,
whatever.
that's
So they don't
nice.
have to come in and out of here, they can just go right over there.
Oh, that's quite
And they have
nice.
some fans in there right now.
Well,
But so, yeah,
oh, good, all right.
it's a group, they're a good group, I think they're good guys, they're, I think honest, I think they'll do a good job.
I would just like to see some parking over there before
Yeah.
too long. Okay, field use policy and fees, we've sort of talked about that,
Yeah.
but I think maybe we need to look at the letter that was sent to us by, from Paul Schmidt. And he is chairman of the Standing Fields Committee,
That is correct.
yes?
What I don't understand in the letter is though,
Eh.
what is the failed to comply, but there's no explanation of what it was that that they failed to comply with.
I think part of it was, all youth sports know that they need to fill out a reservation form to reserve a field here, or fields. And they have on a couple occasions, there was was it a tournament they had been there? I think it was a tournament, it wasn't just like a practice or something. I think it was a tournament, and one of our staff happened to see on their website or something that they were having this tournament. But the only way that we put it into our schedule is when somebody fills the form out. Ask for it, I approve it, it goes into the
It
schedule.
was the sports camp. It was the sports camp.
Yeah, well, they had two things, they had a sports
I think
camp.
it's happened a couple of times.
There are two.
now that
There's a
Ellen has
sports
noticed
camp.
this online, on
A sports camp and I think it was a tournament they had over a weekend. And it's important for us to know, because if somebody gets hurt on the field and we didn't prepare it and groom it, because we didn't know they're on it, I mean, granted, if it's a pickup game, that could happen, because somebody just goes and that's fine, that's fine to get hurt, but I mean, we don't know everything that goes on all the time, but when it's an organized group,
Yeah.
I think what compounded is when, I also, when staff in the office saw it on their website, notified me, I sent an email, so just a reminder, you gotta fill out the reservation form so we can get it into the computer, we schedule it, we know you're there. Because what would happen if I scheduled, you had a bunch of kids who wanna go and play, and I scheduled you guys to be there, you show up,
Yeah.
and there's all these kids on the field, and they say, well, we're not getting off because we got it. So I think that is what sort of initiated this, and inspired this. There was a lot of discussion at the field committee meeting about it. They're just not compliant with the regulations, and it's a little disheartening after I sent the form out, or I'm sorry, reminded them, fill out the form, get it into it so we can schedule the field for you, and we never got it.
And I think that what complicated it is that the sports group appealed to a higher authority, and the higher authority directed our director here to waive the fee that's associated with that.
Well,
And that's,
I was in on that too, and.
that
we did-
complicates things
that
terribly.
Well, we did say, though, this is the last time we're going to waive that fee. And I think the other thing that complicates this as well is that there have been complaints about the grooming of the fields. And quite honestly, if you can't tell us when you need them groomed,
They aren't gonna get groomed.
how are we going to do this? And then there's complaints. So this is just, seems to be an ongoing
So it's the same.
problem here.
Well, there's an expectation on the part of, okay, so I'll put the cards out with Guilford Little League as to what their expectation is as how the fields ought to be groomed, as to what service we can provide. They think it's somewhere around Yankee Stadium, and we cannot come anywhere close to that ideal situation, depending upon the number of people we have, the restrictions that we have on our budget, and the restrictions that we have with regard to having overtime placed especially when you complicate things with weather as well. There's only so much that can be done during a certain time period. You know, I'm going to take myself back 27 years. I've been with Little League for 27 years. I'm not with them this year. This year it complicated things for me personally, but I think the expectations of what is expected of our organization from a maintenance standpoint cannot be achieved. Okay, we do the best we can with the resources we have available, and it.
It's been an issue. I mean, all of a sudden, it's an issue. Has it been an issue
In past years?
past years? No, I don't think so.
I think the time that had been issues in past years that I recall when I was, you know, either on the board or actively involved with it, it was in, Adams Field is our jewel. And actually, it's not our jewel, it's the Board of Education's jewel. We just maintain it for them. But the thing of it is that we've had situations where the fields have been fixed in the past based upon a cycle of whether or not we can have the ability to have, A, have the money, and B, have the time to do it. We've had twice we've had our money cut from our budget to have irrigation placed on the Adams Field. And that was not from our doing, that was done from the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. I explained that to their executive board, and it fell on deaf ears. The fact that we did not have the money to put back into the fields that we had wanted to, that we had budgeted for. And I think there's just a higher expectation of what we can provide. And, you know.
And to Anthony's credit, I think he has done as much as he could whenever he can. He's been very accommodating.
Absolutely.
Well, and Rick has filled out the idea too as to,
He's been very good about this.
from an operations standpoint, the Park and Rec grounds crew put a higher percentage of time grooming the fields for Little League than they do for any other sports group in town.
That's correct.
So does that mean that they get more and somebody else gets less? That's a potential problem. I actually provided for them at an earlier meeting the amount of money that we had budgeted for groundskeeping for the next fiscal year starting today. And again, I showed that we had money that we had in there, and it was taken out during the budgetary process. And I said, this is the best that we can do, and this is what we were going to do with what we have. I don't see where the fields are deficient. I don't see where they're unsafe. I don't see where they're unplayable. The other issue that comes up is the fact that there's a little bit of overuse on their part, because it used to be that Guilford Little League went from April until the end of June.
Correct.
And then it disappeared. Now you have now, well, they used to have summer ball, they don't have it, I don't think they have it this year.
Just the districts and so on.
Okay, then you have fall ball, and you have an extended use of the fields, which gives us less time to maintain them. And in order for a field to really be properly groomed, you got to take it out of circulation for at least an amount of time to refertilize and make it look better.
So I think this comes back to, involving, we've got a period of time every year where the fields are in high demand from multiple sports groups. And there's, what is it, let's call it 4 months, the spring through summer. I mean, there's also the fall, you can't forget. But my point is there's two defined periods of time that the fields need to be worked. And so as we're budgeting, although the budgets continue to get cut, but is there a way that we can, again, add additional help to Rick's staff, so we have, whether it's an additional headcount for a defined period of time or additional equipment, something to,
We can certainly look at that at budget time.
yeah.
And I think we have in the past as well.
Yes.
We've always tried to add, a seasonal helper.
Yeah.
Last year, I think we got a part-time
hard
seasonal.
to get
We
seasonal
asked
guys.
for,
Really hard.
a
Yes.
full-time
That's-
seasonal
yeah,
help, but we got
kind of
one
budget.
part-time guy instead of one full-time. So, I mean, it's definitely been looked at in the past, and I think it's something
But I
that
think
we'll
we need to
always
look at it again
continue
and
Yeah, we
continue
could
to,
take
to look
offline.
at it and ask.
yeah.
You know, amongst ourselves.
So if I
Okay.
can just, one thing, because I want to be totally fair to everybody, one thing that exacerbated, I think, the issue with Little League is they contracted to have the Bittner B field, infield done last fall. And, because we couldn't do it, we had money to do A field, and we did the Adams baseball field, which was really in bad shape, it had to get done. So the Parks Rec money went into that field, and I told Little League management, we can't do it. We'll do it next year, you know. So they decided to do it on their own. They spent about $10,000 on a contractor to do it, counting, you know, clay and sod and everything. So about 2 weeks ago, whenever the hot weather started to hit, there's no irrigation on those fields. There's one golf head, and all the purpose of that is to wet the clay. That's all it does. It spins it about twice. If you go more than twice, it floods it. It's mud. But the purpose of that is just to keep the dust down on the clay. That's all it's for. It does not water the grass. And so there was a chain of events that caused some aesthetic damage to the field. And I'm going to emphasize aesthetic damage because the field was totally playable, not unsafe, but there were areas that browned out. So it was a combination of the drought, no water, the dry spell, hot weather. We had fertilized it. It's always a better idea to fertilize when you know it's going to rain afterwards, and then it didn't rain for 2 weeks. And then our guys went on with our 6-foot mower and mowed it, and the mower left stress, you can see the tire tracks, not burned out, like burned out tire tracks, you know, around it. So it was a combination of things. So Tony and Matt Hoey and I met out there on a Friday, and I said, Tony, bring our core aerator, because I bet you that infield, the roots are very shallow, because it's new sod. And if it's shallow roots, it gets stressed out quicker. Exactly what happened. We took in the outfield, where it's been grass for a long time, the roots were that deep, and the infield was like this, about a little over an inch, maybe an inch and a half. And so it couldn't handle the stress. So what Tony did is he watered it with a hand watered, he and the crew. That field now looks almost as good it did in the fall. It came back, and I always said to the league people that field will come back. It's aesthetic. It's not dangerous. It's, you know, they're making demands that we need to pay them back $10,000 that they put into it, and it's not accurate. And the truth of the matter is that there was a combination of events. In hindsight, it would have been better probably if the guys used a push mower possibly. But when they got 100 acres to mow in a week, you got to get it done. You move on to the next one. They didn't know, so I mean, it just happened. But it came back as we said it would, and it's in very good condition. I mean, a couple little spots still that are a little maybe brown out still, but it'll come back as we continue to water it.
Well, the other issue about Bittner Park is that it's irrigated in 2 places, in the high school soccer field and on the men's league field. It's fully irrigated. The other 3 diamonds are not irrigated at all.
Except for the golf head.
Except for the golf head that comes through. So the other portion about that is that the water for the irrigation comes from the West River. When we get into a drought condition, the West River goes down, there's no water to pull to go into the cisterns in order to do the irrigation. So that's a second complication that comes with that. And then the third complication is the fact that whether or not they're using the field during the proper time. Now, I was there for a soccer game back in the beginning of April, and they were playing over in the B field. Now, soccer, you can play in the rain. Baseball, you can't. And these guys were playing in the rain.
You're not supposed to, we tell them.
And I could see, and I'm looking over, and I'm saying, I'm almost thinking in my brain to scream out to the umpires, call the game, because you could see where it was just not the appropriate weather to be playing baseball. And eventually they did, but it took another 30 minutes of me with mental telepathy trying to get them to do this.
It worked in the end.
It worked in the end. But if we had the money, we could irrigate the fields. But we don't have the money, we don't have the water.
Well, let me stop you there right now, Jack, because Matt Hoey authorizes, we have money left over in the capital account.
Okay.
He told us to go get quotes to irrigate those 2 fields.
See what happens.
So we're irrigating the infield only, not the outfield, but just the infield, and it's, I don't know, $5,000 or something like, maybe $6,000. And so we tied up a purchase order because it was in last year's money, so we have the money to do that. So we will irrigate the infields of the A and B field. One thing I should mention, again, in all transparency, the other thing that was part of the perfect storm that created the damage on that field was that there was a leak in the irrigation line, and the irrigation company came and they dug a trench, and the trench was filling with water, and they pumped the water out onto the infield. Tony got there and saw it, whoa, 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 and he went and got a bilge pump that we have in the garage. He ran a hose to run the water off the field, to pump it off the field. The irrigation company was letting it run, so now it was getting flooded.
And it's baking in the sun.
Yeah, and so it was all those things that made this thing happen. But, again, I think that if people are willing to
Be patient.
be reasonable, and work with us, we bring it back. And Tony spent a lot of time there with the guys watering that field to bring it back, and it came back.
Yep.
So, that's the bottom line.
Okay. The HVAC upgrades. Any news on that?
Oh, we skipped carpet.
Carpet replacement?
Talked about that.
Yeah, I
with
guess we did that.
improvements.
We
Okay.
talked about the carpets.
That was approved by the Board of Selectmen, I think, after our last meeting, for
Oh, okay,
eight
good.
new VAVs and sensors. VAVs are the variable air volume boxes that are in the ceiling that control everything. It's going to make everything more efficient. Eventually, we have to replace all of them, and they're 26. But we'll do 8
Start.
this year, and it's coming out of, it's like a $200,000 energy grant or something.
Efficiency thing.
So it's not coming out of our budget. We had it in our long-range plan. Remember, we had the efficiency study
Yeah.
done by
Yes.
the company looked at, facility, the entire building. That's one of the things they said in the next 5 years we should do. So 8 of them will be getting done.
Wow. Good.
I don't have a timeline, but sometime in the next,
Okay.
it'll be this summer. They'll do it.
Okay, let's move on to new business. The request for the bench at Chaffage Island for Marlene Colento. Bob Borden just spoke to that. Apparently, he was here last month too, I missed that, but they already have a tree? Okay. How many benches do we have there?
At least 7.
Are we over benching, I guess is my question.
I don't know, is there 7? Let's see.
Yeah.
I know the first one was Ted Creighton's daughter, I think. Ted Creighton was one. Moses Gunn, he might have been the first one.
Can we,
Creighton, McGee, and there's at least one of me. I think there are 4 or 5. I'm not sure there's 7. I don't know.
Okay.
maybe we should.
Maybe, I'm sorry, didn't mean to
table this and
exaggerate
Give
it.
everybody a chance to look at the policy and talk about it next month. Because we do have a policy in place for this.
I think I brought it up at the last month's meeting, is
Oh,
that
okay.
I'd rather the park be less populated with memorial benches than what we currently. I don't feel badly about, having them there, but it just, to me, it just sort of distracts from the beauty of the park.
Yeah, the one that I was down there, like, the granite one that's like, no one's, I can't imagine, they're not comfortable. I don't know if are they all granite down there?
They all are, because the goal, what the commission said as the policy at the time, they all had to look
We
alike.
wanted them to look alike, so we
Yeah,
don't
they-
have all these different kind of benches down there.
And I was down there a couple weeks ago, it's like, it's not something you would sit on. Like a bench at the Guilford Green, that's a comfortable bench you would sit on.
Mhm.
But I look at those granite ones, I'm like, that's not something you would sit on. It doesn't look comfortable, and I can't imagine anybody
People
would
do,
be
but
sitting
they
on
don't sit
them.
on them very long. They do. Um,
I think somebody needs to go down and take a look.
But I
and
think,
just
I was
see
just gonna
how
say that, I
many
think,
there are, where they are.
Yeah, I think we need to do that. So let's hold that thought, and can we table this until next month? Is everybody agreeable to that?
I'm agreeable.
Okay. All right, our Eagle Project, he's gonna come next month. C, D, and E, we have already.
They're both going to come back next month.
Both of them are coming back, and the boy who couldn't make it tonight is also coming back. Okay, and a reminder of our community picnic and fireworks.
Yeah, and we're gonna.
On Saturday.
A little more publicity than usual. WPLR is gonna start, they contacted me today, they're gonna promote it on the radio, they wanna set up a tent and, give away freebies or whatever.
Great.
And then Channel 8 contacted me today, they wanted some pictures, and all I had was on my cell phone. So I got a hold of Catherine Kiernan, and she knows some people who are really like photographers that
Uh-huh.
she thinks has some pictures of it. So, well, have them send them to Channel 8, 'cause my little cell phone one doesn't look too great. So, but they're gonna promote it.
Good. And then
Rain day to Sunday,
concert is at the community concert, the community band concert is at
4.
4.
Yeah, 4:30. The community picnic starts at 4, and then we have the, inflatables for the kids, the climbing wall, and then the community band, and a
And then
petting
the
zoo.
fireworks start, what, about 9:30?
About 9:20 roughly. The band this year is Leaf Jumpers. It's a Guilford group. The guys are, I don't know if they're all in Guilford, but some of them are anyway. And they're going to be playing this year from about 7:15 to 9:15.
That works.
We have Carolyn, used to be Carolyn Fleischauer, I forgot her married name. She's going to be doing the national anthem for us there.
Okay, good. Okay, and lastly, we added, G, the Jacobs Beach bench. That was the letter that Rick just gave us from Al Jacobs. I'm reading this now, sorry. So they want to put a permanent bench along the walkway at Jacobs, preferably next to the bench that's already there. So all we have is one bench there now, and a
There
couple of
are-
Adirondack chairs, is that what we have there?
4 benches, I think, and at least 3. I think it's 4 and 10 or 12 Adirondack chairs.
Wow. So where in the world would we,
Well,
Well-
the 3 benches are around the playground.
Well, around the playground, but no, around the grass area. But between the boardwalk and the grass area, that's where we have benches there. Those are the ones when we first built the project, and we were looking for people to donate benches. The Interact Group has one that they gave us, it was like, I think they were around $1,300 a bench, I think. Interact has one, Bev Adamo bought one for her husband Frank, who used to be one of our bus drivers. I forgot, there are 2 others, I think. But when I was down there with Will Thompson today about the platform project, I talked to him about this, and he said, well, yeah, I mean, he kind of picked a spot where he thought it could go, that would look good in having it there. I mean, at Jacobs, the policy you're looking at is, we didn't follow that at Jacobs because we were looking for benches. We just wanted anybody who wanted to donate a
we
bench,
should follow it, yeah.
we just let it happen. So it wasn't necessarily somebody who had to have some kind of contribution to the Parks and Rec Department, and that's kind of what the policy is for the other places, I think.
Right.
But at Jacobs, we never did that. It was just, we needed benches and Adirondack chairs, and whoever wanted to donate for it, go for it, and let's do it. So, I don't know how you want to address it, because we have 2 different requests for 2 different places, benches, and the
Well,
policies are a little different,
You
or
know,
have been.
we have not taken our yearly trip or
Truck.
walk to all of our parks this year, yet.
Mhm.
So I think what I might like to do is maybe for the August meeting, why don't we do Jacobs, Chittenden, and Chaffinch before the meeting? And aside from, inspecting our parks and seeing what needs done, we could take a look and see our policy, how this is going to fit in with our policy and how we think this might look at our park or beaches. Does that work for everybody? Normally, what we do is we start meeting, we would start our meeting, say, at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock usually. We start at 5, and we'll meet at 1, we'll determine where we're going to meet. And then we'll just tour, and then come back here for our 6:30 meeting.
Are you?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So is that okay with everybody if we do that, and just table these 2 items until?
Isn't there, there's a separate policy for benches at Chapted, and there's a separate policy for benches at whatever?
No, I think there's just a policy for the one policy for all of our parks.
Is that in the package or
Yes,
someplace?
it should be, yes.
Okay.
That's why, I want to give everybody a chance to find it and read it in this month, so that we could, and maybe you could just find it and email it out to everybody, just to be a second link.
I'll be on vacation.
Okay.
I won't be here.
We'll miss you. All right, is there any other business now any other,
Can I ask a
business.
question of Rick?
no? Go for it.
That was pretty apart.
Hey, I helped you out the last few months.
Go for it.
The light on 77 for Quannapock, we pay for that light, correct?
Correct.
Who put it in is it our responsibility to upgrade it and all of that, or is that done by state, or?
The state put it in, that was part of the deal when they did it, because before that, I don't know if you remember, but our gate guards just stand out with
Yep.
a lollipop stop sign.
It was horrible.
It was very
Very
dangerous.
scary.
No, I remember.
And so the light was put in, the state put it in, but it was always an agreement that we own it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just paid for,
Replacement parts for
yeah,
it.
the push button wasn't working, so we had to pay for that last
Yeah.
year, I think it was.
Yes,
To make that work. And they, Steve Nightoff, his crew kind of maintains the light, the bulbs. They go up with their lift and somebody stops traffic and they change the light bulbs in there. I believe they're all LED lights now, so they should last longer, but,
I only asked because I was obviously there today.
yeah.
And I always sit by the lifeguard stand, and luckily, one of our lifeguards was on break. We have an elderly woman that is there. I think she's been there since I was little, going swimming there, who has vision impairment. And she asked one of the lifeguards, because her companion was in the car and she was ready to leave, needed to be walked across the road because our traffic light, our walk sign doesn't beep. So it's not ADA. So it beeps when you press the button to say, okay, we know you've pressed the button, it's
But it
gonna
doesn't beep
change,
to
but
let
it
you
doesn't
know.
beep to let you know
Right.
that you can cross and that the countdown is happening. So she was concerned about that, so I told the lifeguards that I would ask about that tonight. Luckily, if one of them wasn't on break, obviously someone else would have walked them across.
Yeah.
But we can't always rely on our lifeguards to be crossing the road
Yeah.
with people.
Well, because we just did upgrade those like last
Right.
year, and so I'm
And that's
wondering
why
why.
I was surprised that if it was through the state that we have to do upgrades
Yeah.
and whatnot, that they
They
did
would've caught
not
Yeah.
pick that up, that it
Right.
does not have that feature.
that light really does have a long black, red on it too, so it's not as if you're gonna have to jog your way across.
Right.
It's,
No, but you still should,
yeah.
She doesn't know that
you
it,
still don't know exactly when it changes either.
and it's very deceiving to listen, because like,
Yes.
my kids and I are standing there all the time, and they know they have to wait for the little person to come up, but many times people will stop to let you go,
Yes.
but they only stop on one side, and I can't guarantee that someone's gonna stop on the other side. So I would hate for her to feel like, okay, they've stopped, I can go, and
Find out that,
I think,
The other
I think
side's
to your
not
point,
stopping.
at the very least, our aquatic staff should, if she's a regular, they know they should help her go across.
And they do.
Yeah.
Usually she has her companion waiting on the beach with her, but he was not. He was over in the car today. So, and she was obviously ready to go early.
Mhm.
But there's not always a lifeguard on break there, though. And,
we have gate guards.
Yeah.
yeah, but not on, we don't have gate guards on the
On
beach
this, on
anymore.
the beach side, you're
They're
right.
on the other side.
But there should be one by the
The boat.
dock there, so,
Right.
that person, they had to for
Yeah.
2 minutes, could,
But
walk up
and
there.
just because we can't always guarantee, because
Yeah. Yeah.
the boats I've been there 4 times this summer, and the boats have been awesome. Cornhole has been a great addition as well up there, so.
So, you don't think the state would just give us, upgrade it for free because of the ADA?
It's ours to maintain, so that whatever it was pretty expensive, I think it was a couple $1,000 we had to pay to have something fixed on it last year, so I'm surprised that, if that's like a requirement,
Yeah,
the
I think
the
that-
people who fix it know, they do lights, they should, I'm surprised they haven't said something to me about, well, you gotta upgrade this to,
Maybe Public Works has one that they have a storage that they could use. That would-
Well, and
we'll
maybe
look
just
into that.
Ellen should.
Yeah, look into that, maybe we should ask.
Obviously look into it, but maybe just let Ellen know, to tell all the lifeguards and
Yes,
gate guards up there that.
Keep an eye out.
To keep an eye out. Most of them know her. There are a few new lifeguards up there, but most everyone knows her because she either has her dog with her or her companion waiting in the shade, so. But today she did not have a way to cross.
I guess the only other question I have of Lake Quannapock is that I generally drive past there very early in the morning, and we don't have any type of way to avoid the outside critters from descending upon that place. There was no, it wasn't geese this time. This was a nice big flock of turkey vultures.
oh, yeah, they sit on that fence up there sometimes.
Yes, it really
Yeah,
is very intimidating when you drive
Yeah.
by there, but they also hang out on the dock as well.
Yeah.
So I know, if you have a dog will chase them off, but I don't know if that's possible or not, but I know Guilford Police doesn't want to go up there and chase the turkey vultures off.
It's
But
hard.
It is hard.
It's hard.
But the other part about that too, I also seen a couple of gentlemen who like to go swimming before hours. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, they're crossing around on the fence. And, I mean, I don't have the time to call up the Guilford PD
No.
and tell them.
Families do it at night as well.
Yes.
They really shouldn't, because there's a very dangerous underwater ledge, and our lifeguards know where that is, and you could be, this deep in water, you could take a step backwards and it's 20-foot drop.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's.
Over by the dock, yes.
The lifeguards know where that is, and they're cautious about that, they're aware of it.
So I think it's just a personal appeal to people who want to go across the locked gate, okay, or the extended gate that goes beyond the water. Don't do it.
Right.
Because if you fall or you get hurt, we're not going to find you. I mean, we're going to have to send the Guilford Police and the fireboat out there to look for you. And I don't know if anybody goes by in the morning and checks the cars that are there. Now, this morning, there was another group of people. This is over on the left-hand side, and this looks like there was a bunch of bikers that were deciding, not motorcycle, but bicyclists, who were setting up over on the parking lot to do some type of tour to Guilford. Again, this is at 5:45 in the morning. So, I know it's a public park. I know we have public access, but there are concerns of mine as to whether or not people are abusing the.
We've had 2 people drown up there,
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to see a third.
one after hours.
And since you're talking about Quantum, I should mention, Ellen had the gate guards and lifeguards did a nice job weeding and planting flowers
It
around the
looks
flagpole.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put a flag up there now on the
Nice.
flagpole. It hasn't been one there for years, and so we'll have that.
I have to say,
looking
it's
better.
nice that they're always finding, they're not just sitting around. If there's,
Mhm.
not traffic coming in to check passes, they're always doing something, whether it's cleaning up the garbage that spills over, weeding. We were there when they were mulching. They did a nice job.
Yeah.
So,
There's one thing I forgot to mention on my report, because it happened today. The Board of Selectmen approved us, we purchased an aerator. Again, we had money left in the capital account. It was in our 5-year budget, I think 3 years out. But we got a tremendous deal for it. It was a company that's going out of business. They have one left.
Wow.
And normally, the quotes were 18,000, 16,000, and 11,000. So we got one for $11,000. Normally, it could be we save $5,000 to $7,000 on it. And so they approved that today, and it's a slice aerator. So we paid a contractor $3,900 to do 3 fields this spring, and for a little more than twice that amount, we now own one, so we can do all the fields as often as we want.
As often as we want. Good.
And it'll help,
You
I
sit
think
on
it'll
it
help improve the quality of the fields, because it'll reduce.
You sit on it and go?
It's towed by a tractor, so we have an aerator and an aeravator. The aeravator kind of goes in the ground and it shocks it and shakes it up. You could definitely not play field hockey or lacrosse on it right after. This makes slices, slits. It can go as deep as 12 to 15 inches, depending on how hard the soil is, but our aeravator can go, on tight soil, we can get maybe 2 inches, 3 max. This can get, if we can get down even 8 inches, it helps the roots be able to get, like I was talking about the sod on the new sod on the field at Vintner, it's very shallow roots, and so when you have shallow roots, when we get this kind of dry weather, everything dries up faster because the roots aren't getting down where it's damp. So this will help. It'll help relieve compaction, it'll help the root development, and it's a good acquisition for us. Great.
Awesome. Okay,
By the way, the memorial, page 3 here.
thank you. Any other business? Okay, motion to adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. All right, we're adjourning at approximately 8:07.
Is everybody going to make it to the